This Crev's corner, the ball is in your court. Swish.
What's up, everyone? My name is Braden Krevling, the host of Crev's Corner, episode 15. We have a very special guest in the house, Futuristic, known as Zachary Beck. Zach, give your socials. Obviously, you're a man that people should know.
For sure. Yeah. Everything is only Futuristic. Follow your boy on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, onlyfuturistic.com, all of that good stuff. Yes, sir.
All right. So how I know Futuristic is at 14, 15 years old, walking up the streets of Plymouth, Ohio, we used to jam out to iTunes, this music app. And when my boys came up and he's like, hey, did you hear about this guy? His name's Futuristic. He released a song called Too Easy. And then, I'm just like, oh, this song hits. And then we just started listening to the album The Rise. And we saw The Greatest, which was one of your trending songs at the time. And it was like this guy, he like dresses like a nerd, but he raps and he's like the cooler kid, but he just dresses like a nerd to kind of show the outcast can be more incast. And it was a very cool concept. And we're just going to get down to it. Zach, I got a couple questions for you, but thank you for taking time out of your day to do this interview.
Of course.
So everyone has a story behind their rapper name. How did you get Futuristic?
Yeah, man, I've been rapping since I was real young. So since I was like 5 years old. And at 5, basically, they were calling me. Well, for my first rap name was actually Lil Skittles because Eminem was my favorite rapper. But I liked the Skittles candy more than Eminem's. So I was Lil Skittles. But then people just kind of started calling me the Future because I was so young and rapping. And one of my brother's friends was like, yo, you should go by Futuristic. And so I've had the name since, maybe I was like 7.
Yeah, I would say Futuristic's a dope name. It kind of gets confused with Future, but man, Lil Skittles, that's something that probably not a lot of people know. Not
a lot of people know about that one. You got a little exclusive gem right there.
Yeah, that's super dope. So you're born in Bloomington, Illinois, but you currently reside in Arizona. So where did you find your love for music in between those years?
I found it, like I said, just real young. My dad is a DJ, drummer, bass player. My other brother is a producer, engineer. My brother that I told you about, who had the friend that gave me the name, he's a rapper as well. And so like it just really ran in the family. Everybody was just doing music. It was always, clean the house and have on Michael Jackson and all the funk music and everything else. So it was just, from the young age, I just knew that I wanted to do it, and I just loved it. My dad would be playing with his band, and I'd be on the mic yelling all sorts of gibberish. So
I'll say it's funny that you said "clean the house" because in one of my favorite songs, "Man on a Mission," you told your mom stop cleaning the house because the mic was in the kitchen, which is one of my favorite songs, and we'll talk about that later on. But is it true you dropped out of community college?
Yeah, I was in community college for a year and a half, about. And it was kind of just, to make moms happy and do things.
That's the same thing that ran into me. I went to community college down in Ohio, and it just went to make moms happy. But that was kind of my lead up to this because you decided to make a choice on your own to leave community college and start the rap career at 21. So tell me, how big of a decision was that? Because you probably did it and not a lot of people approved of it. So how big was that going with your gut feeling?
I kind of always tell people this is something you can apply to what you're doing with anything. If you're going to go to school, right, you're going to be a doctor, or you're going to be a lawyer, or you're going to be any of these things. It takes 4 years at least, maybe 8, to be what you want to be. And a music career is no different. Any career you want, any business you want to start is no different. If you're like, yo, I want to start a clothing line, I want to be successful. Well, that means it's going to take those 4 years of grinding it out before you even get the job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I kind of always just applied it like that. So I told my mom, I was like, look, if I was going to be in college, I'll be here for 4 years. So I'm going to do the same with music. If I'm not popping in 4 years, I'll go back. I'll go back to school and I'll fucking get a teaching degree, and I'll be a math teacher and a basketball coach, and that'll be it. But give me these 4 years. If I'm not a millionaire by the time I'm 25, I'll go back. And so it was kind of just like that all or nothing decision. And that's just how I think that's how I justified it to myself was, cool, I got 4 years, and that's what I would do if I was in college anyways. And then if all else failed, I would still be in my career by the time I was 30 if I had to go back to school. So it was kind of like
in those 4 years, you succeeded very heavily. first you started off in 2012 and you started making those little remixes and stuff like that. So what was your initial goal going into a rap game? You know, it was bouncing between kind of the Lil Waynes and the Eminems, and they were all still putting out music. And you had those solidified people like Drake, who was already on that prime come up. So where did you find yourself fitting into the rap game?
Because as a kid, obviously, I just wanted to be the biggest rapper in the world. And then when I kind of like grew up and realized, I think my actual grind started when I decided I was going to drop out of school was when I saw MGK and Hopsin. Okay. So I saw MGK and Hopsin, and I didn't know what independent music was. I never heard of these dudes before. I didn't know you could do it without being signed to a major label. I thought there was, like you said, you had to be the Kanye West, the Lil Waynes of the world to really make it. So it was like when I saw them doing it on a smaller scale, but doing it their way, I was like, oh shit, this is what I could do. And so that's when the grind really started.
Now, that was back in 2012. Fast forward 2014, you put out arguably your biggest song of this time for you, I Guess I'll Smoke, which right now on YouTube is 16.7 million views. And it's still a smoke session, still a party song that my group will get up to. And I'm sure many people around the country would that are loyal fans of you. So what was your idea going into that song? Did you know that it was going to be a hit like that and one of your biggest songs up to date?
Nah, I think you never know. Like every time I've done something, I've really never known what's going to be big and what's not. You have a little bit of a feeling, but that song just stemmed from being on tour with Dizzy Wright, and every day he was trying to get me to smoke, and I'm like, fam, I'm not smoking, because I don't really smoke like that.
Yeah.
Like I say in the song, I'm like, I only smoke if I'm gonna eat a sandwich, get some booty, or go to sleep, and that's really it. It's a very rare occasion. So my DJ was like, yo, there's a huge stoner community. Like, this is the one type of smoke song you could make. Like, I Guess I'll Smoke. Like, you should just make it a song and get Dizzy on it. Because I was just trying to think of a song to get Dizzy on. And he's like, yo, you should just make one from scratch about smoking and how you don't really smoke. And I was like, let's do it. So, yeah, it just turned into an anthem for people to like almost lose their smoke virginity. Like, everybody hits me like, bro, the first time I ever smoked was to I Guess I'll Smoke.
I was just about to tell you, that's when we did. I know the specific spot. It was about 4 or 5 of our buddies. It was before we were going to go to an open gym kind of basketball practice. It was, shout out moms if you're listening to this, it was around our corner under one of our bridges. It was just a chill spot, and then we got like a little pop can or whatever. We're like, all right, let's try to do this one time, and then we all just got blazed up. But looking at you said, yeah, you spoke on the positive influence of that. Did you ever, in this process of making that song, reflect on the negative influence on that, and were afraid of like the younger kids of your listening ship, like how people like 14, 15-year-olds were listening? Did you ever think of the negative impact of that, or you just thought all positive, this is going to be an anthem?
That's an interesting question, actually. I don't think when I made it that I ever thought about that per se. I felt like I was one of the rare people who didn't smoke. And so I think
you were allowed to do that because you didn't. So you were kind of,
yeah, I kind of just felt like, I don't know. I think that, like the intro to the video kind of was my justification of being like, yo, like, I don't really smoke like this. Like, but if the scenario presents itself and it's like, and it makes sense, then cool, run it up. And even like one of my good homies, the only time he's ever smoked was to that song, and it was on his birthday, and it was like we smoked and then went to the strip club. And it's like, so for me, I feel like obviously if it was a song about doing meth or some other shit, then that would be different. But we're talking about marijuana. We're talking about something that's not,
not harmless, not harming that way. Yeah.
Right. So I think that was, and yeah, so I'm very anti-drug. Like I don't do any drugs. I've never done any drugs. So for me, I could never come out and do no shit like that. But for a weed anthem, I think it made sense.
So fast forward to a year, you released The Rise, which was one of your biggest albums yet. You got songs like The Greatest and Too Easy, which were starred on that album. So how'd you feel about the album actually hitting the Billboard and actually creating an album to where it was very well known for you and kind of like almost popped you off as an artist?
Yeah, I mean, that's the album that changed everything. I mean, to put it in perspective, I kind of started being able to really just live off my music when I Guess I'll Smoke came out. Like, kind of live. Like, I didn't have my own spot or nothing, but like, I was good, you know? And then when The Rise came out, I had moved to LA to make it all happen. And so, like, my funds was just getting depleted from living in LA. And then when I had the idea for the Nerd Rap, it was with TV. And that's the one that I did know was going to do something crazy. I knew it was going to do well. Didn't know how well, but so yeah, dropping that was just kind of like validation of everything. It was just like it changed my life. That whole album changed my life. The Greatest changed my life. And I was actually on tour when I dropped it. So The Rise got rushed because when Nerd Rap dropped and it started going crazy, I was like, fuck, we need to put out the album because there's too many people watching right now. We have to drop on this momentum. So we dropped The Greatest. I think I might have had like 8 or 9 of the songs recorded for The Rise. And I was like, yo, I got to get off tour and finish this album. So as soon as tour was over, I finished it, put it out as soon as I could, and just watched it go crazy.
Yeah, you talked about the Nerd Rap, and that's actually part of my next question. Mixing in the Nerd Rap with deep songs, like you say, Music Saved Your Life and Man on a Mission. How'd you balance that on the album, The Rise? That's a very cut line between party rock, party songs, that Nerd Rap, kind of fast, upbeat, to deep songs that make people really reflect when their head hits the pillow at night and really think about the stuff that you don't want to think about.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, everybody has different emotions and everybody goes through in one day, like you can feel 20 different emotions. And that's how I always want my albums to be. I want it to resonate I want you to have a song to resonate with every moment. And I personally don't like when albums all sound the same all the way through. I like when every song has its own particular sound and subject matter. And then the other thing for me was like, if I'm gonna have this gimmick of being a nerd, I don't want to just be a gimmick. I want it to be where you hear that, but then when you actually listen, you're like, oh shit, this dude is crazy good. Or oh shit, like you said, Music Saved My Life or Man on a Mission, those types of songs, like he has substance, he has something that resonates. And for me, it was just like those were the emotions I was feeling and those were the places that I was in. So I just really made music for me, honestly. And then I knew it could resonate with other people as well because, we all go through the same things.
Yeah, I'll just tell this before I ask that next question. Those two songs are probably my favorite songs from you, and "Music Saved My Life" was one of my biggest ones because I just went through a real big like lonely phase, and I read up on something that you dealt with depression when your Grams passed. But dude, when one of my best friends passed away, that's one song that really I reflected to and was like, this dude was here for me when all I had was good times when I was 15, 16, 17, 18, and I grew up on that music. And then looking back on the bad times, and I'm like, wow, some of these songs really hit home. And Man on a Mission is kind of the same thing when it's talking about, I'm doing this whole podcast and blog thing, and Man on a Mission really motivates me that like it kind of relates me to the point where even when no one's got your back, you got to do it. You got to be that guy that tells you it's time to buckle down and get to work.
Right. No, for sure. I mean, ain't nobody gonna do it but you.
Yeah. So on that album, The Greatest is currently the most viewed music video you have that you are singing in. It has 20 million views with the Nerd Rap, along with Too Easy is third with 16 million views. Are you surprised that those music videos blew up the way they did?
Not necessarily. No, I think that was the one that I knew. Like I knew The Greatest was gonna do it, and then after that went so crazy, I was like, we got to do the same thing for Too Easy, because it wasn't like I wrote these to be nerd raps. I just had the songs done, and then I decided to do the nerd raps. So it was, you know what I mean? It wasn't made to be a nerd rap. So after I did it with The Greatest, I was like, we got to give them one more. And so I dropped the album, and then 3 days later, I dropped the Too Easy music video. And the prank with that as well, so that we'd get another launch while the album was already out. So that's when it went even crazier. I think we were like No,
go ahead.
I was gonna say I think we were on like top 10 on iTunes for like 2-3 months.
Yeah, good. Talking about those two songs, I would not say that your career is built off like quick witty one-liners, but it complements your rap game very well. For example, Too Easy starts with Blessed Like a
Yeah.
Sneeze. So how do you come up with these little one-liners?
I think just growing up, my influences were Lil Wayne, Ludacris, people like that, Busta Rhymes, just real animated rappers that like had a sense of humor, you know. So and then it kind of progressed to like Childish Gambino and people like that. So those are all people where they say something, and sometimes you don't even catch it, and then you might catch it later. But I've always liked to like make people laugh, but make people think, and just show off that lyricism a little bit. So I think it just came from growing up and listening to Ludacris and Lil Wayne, to be honest.
Yeah, so fast forward a year after that, you made Coast to Coast with Devon Terrell, but you used to
Yeah.
make remixes with him before that. Love Yourself is one of my favorite remixes you guys make. So how is
Yeah.
it actually collabing with another artist on an album and creating a whole album? You guys got Nudes together too, which was one of my favorite songs. So how is it working with Devon Terrell? It seems like you guys' musical game complements each other very well.
Yeah, so with Devon, it was easy because we had the same manager. We had the same manager at the time. So he had been touring with me. And even if you look back to my songs in 2012, like he's on my album from 2012. So we didn't put out Coast to Coast till Christmas of 15. So we had already been rocking for 3 years before that, you know, and doing tours together, hanging out. And it was kind of like, we knew one of us was going to blow up at some point in time. And so when I blew up, I just felt like it was his turn right after. I was like, cool, I got mine. Now we got to get yours. And I used to always even tell him, I'm like, bro, you're supposed to be way bigger than me. Like, because you can sing, like you just have a very mainstream industry sound, you know, where I'm kind of more niche. So as soon as I popped off, I was like, bro, this is what we got to do. And to his credit too, like he kind of caught a wave right before as well. He started doing the remixes by himself, just right in front of the microphone, how I had been doing them, and a couple of his took off. And so he had momentum, I had momentum, and it was like, boom, now's the fucking time. Let's do it.
Yeah, also in 2015, you featured in Hold Each Other, which was on the Billboard Top 100 with
Man,
a
what a crazy year.
yeah,
Crazy
yeah.
year.
2015 was a big year for your career, followed by a big year in 2014. But you sung Hold Each Other, for people who don't know, with A Great Big World. And they actually came off a career year the year before that, releasing Say Something. So how was it performing with a band who was almost on the rise at that point and so big with that song Say Something? And then looking back on it, how do you reflect the opportunity of boosting your rap game like that on a love song?
Yeah, it was wild because so much, like I said, so much was going on. I was on tour again when that all happened. So it was like, well, I guess I wasn't on tour when I made it. They hit me up, and my manager actually almost just sent them a generic email like, Futuristic charges this much for a verse. Like, if you want to, it was, you know, and then he looked them up and was like, oh shit, let me not do that. So that was kind of interesting. And then I wasn't the only one that they sent the song to. They sent the song to Macklemore. They sent the song to Juicy J, weirdly, and a couple other artists. And L.A. Reid is the owner of the label they were signed to, and L.A. Reid basically lets his son, who was like a 13-year-old kid, pick what verse he thought was the best, and they picked mine.
That's crazy, man. That's fate.
So
that's crazy.
I didn't know all of that until after like they hit me, because it was weird because I sent them the verse back the same day they sent me the song, and they're like, holy shit, nobody's ever sent us a verse this fast. So I'm thinking like, oh, dope, good, I'm on it. Let's run it. And then they had me come re-record it at their studio. And that was when they told me like, yo, you might not be on the song because we sent it to Macklemore and everybody. And Macklemore was popping.
Macklemore was big in those years. He created Same Love. He was really on that. And no offense to you,
the prime candidate for that song.
No offense to you, Macklemore, that was kind of Macklemore's music. You know, taking your verse out of that song, that is a song that I totally see Macklemore on. And you kind of were more that nerd pop rap, you know.
Yeah, dude, it didn't make all the sense in the world. But the reason why they hit me up was because I did a remix to Say Something, which doesn't have very many views. It has like 40,000 views, but they saw it. And so they loved my verse on that. And so when they went to make this song, they were like, yo, let's hit up that Futuristic dude. And then they saw I had a good buzz at the time, and they're like, oh yeah, let's do it. But yeah, so all that shit happened. And we did Jimmy Fallon, Good Morning America, Good Day New York, all these crazy things. And I mean, once in a lifetime experience. Like, who can say they performed on Jimmy Fallon? So it was wild. But the thing that's also crazy about that whole shit was it's what led me to stay independent, because seeing what their career was like and what they had to go through and like knowing their percentages and everything that like they had going on, I was like, yo, there's absolutely no reason for me to sign a record deal. And I was really, really close to signing a record deal before I went out and did that.
Yeah, and talking about independent artists, it seems like that is more of the trendy way people are going. I don't know if you know who Mike Stud is, but
Of course, yeah. Me and Mike I was on tour with Mike when Coast to Coast dropped.
oh, really? Yeah, me and my boys are all huge fans of Mike Stud, and he goes out on podcasts and talks about why he stays independent and
Yeah.
kind of lives his life because he knows that no one can have like that certain revenue or like physical control of him and who he is as a person, and that's
Yeah.
awesome. I think that a lot of artists are going to start trending to become more independent.
Oh,
But
for sure. Yeah, it's been a wave for a while now with Russ and everybody kind of talking about it. And it started with, Chance talking about it. People have talked about it forever, but I think now more than ever, people realize like the internet is your label. You use the internet and you do the right shit and you can make millions and keep 85 to 100% of your money instead of giving away 85 to 100% of your money.
yeah. So you were a part of actually an album that got released this year. I know what you're thinking. And you recently released that you're going on tour, but canceled it. So what is your next move going into 2021, 2022? And who are some artists in today's game that you look forward to collaborating with?
That's a lot. Okay, yeah. Cancel the tour because of all the crazy COVID mandates, and just how that was affecting how our tour was rolling out. And then I Know What You're Thinking with my guy, Michael Manelli. Shout out to him. Super dope artist. It was kind of like a same thing with the Devon situation where I just felt like, yo, you should be way bigger than you are. And he's a really cool dude. So we made that album. Moving forward, as you see behind me, Indie Amplify, that's my main focus right now. Like my main focus is being able to help other artists out, help grow other artists, and documenting that process so people see what it's like. Once again, just riding that independent wave and being able to be like, this is how I did it. This is why I did it like this. And this is how you can do it. And here's all the resources to do it. So if you go to indieamplify.com, it's literally a one-stop shop, everything that you need in the music business. And we're growing it and revamping it every single day. So that's really my main focus moving into next year. Of course, I'm going to make music. I'm always going to make music, but I found more of a passion for helping other people than I think growing my own music career. I think for me, I just enjoy being able to help others. So that's my main focus going into next year.
Do you have any specific artists that you want to collaborate with or looking forward to kicking it with, looking forward into your music career?
Me and Mike still got to get one. Me and Mike actually recorded 2 or 3 songs back in 2015, and one of them I ended up using the verse because we never put it out. I ended up using one of the verses for a remix that me and Devon did. End up using. So definitely want to get back in with Mike. Me and MGK have talked about making music for a long time. Me and Kyle are due for another one. Me and Tech are due for another one. Me and Hop are due for another one. And then yeah. And then there's a ton of independent artists that like aren't very popular yet. There's Oswin Benjamin, Chris Rivers, Sam Apoku, a bunch of cats that are on the come up that I'm really looking forward to being able to help grow their careers as well and work with them.
Now, talking about the celebrity life, you mentioned Kyle. Is there any celebrities that you get mixed up with? Because I think that you and Kyle could easily get mixed up with in public. Or is there any people Is there any people that come up to you and recognize you like right off the bat in restaurants or out walking around?
Yeah, no, I get recognized every day. If I'm out and about doing stuff, and especially because I live in Arizona where it all kind of started, I get recognized every single day. Somebody comes up to me and is, oh, Futuristic, whatever. But it is crazy. I do every now and then people think that I'm Kyle. Like they'll be like, yo, saw your Netflix movie. It was crazy. And I'm like, yeah, that's not me. That's my guy, Kyle. Or people will be like, man, back in the day when you dropped Lexicon, that was my shit. And I'm like, that's Kyle. So yeah, and same thing happens to him where I see people on his shit be like, yo, I thought you were Futuristic. So he's really the only one that people get me confused with, and I think probably vice versa for him.
I was hesitant on asking that but I could see it, like at a quick glance, you could probably see it, but obviously putting you guys next to each other, there's probably a huge difference. But at a quick glance, I could see why people would recognize you.
There's times where I'm scrolling on Instagram and he posts some shit and I think it's me. On quick glance, I'll be like, and I'm like, oh shit, oh, that's not me.
So who guys are you actually like pretty cool with in the rap game right now that you kick it with on not a daily but a consistent basis?
I mean, everybody worked with, I'm still cool with. There's nobody that I've really done stuff with that like I can't pick up the phone and talk to them and can't kick it or anything like that. Like, I mean, yeah, me and Kyle were just talking the other day. Me and Hop talk every now and then. Me and Tech talk on the regular basis. Me and NF are still cool. I mean, everybody I've ever worked with, any daily basis, I see those rappers I was telling you about, Oswin Benjamin, and if you're not familiar, look up his music. And Anakin, who's also my videographer, crazy. He's got a crazy album out. Chris Rivers, crazy rapper. Those artists are kind of working with me every day. Lex Bratcher, all those people. So yeah, but as far as anybody you've ever seen me work with, for the most part, I'm still super cool with Andy Mineo, all sorts of people.
Now, Madabolison, you were on Instagram. You're an avid Suns fan. They made the finals this year. So what's their ceiling next year? They re-signed Chris Paul. So
yeah.
you expect them to go to another NBA Finals game next year or what?
They re-signed Chris Paul. They got JaVale McGee. They can do it. They can definitely do it. But the West is so tough, and they had a lot of like things kind of fall into place for them. So I think it's going to be way tougher, and they're not going to catch nobody off guard next year. I think it's going to be way tougher next year than it was this year, but I definitely think it's possible. A lot of times these teams super stack their teams and the chemistry is not there. What you have with the Suns is they've been together and they rock with each other and they all want it. So the chemistry is there. And I think that's what took them through last year was like, they know who their players are. They nobody's trying to do too much, and they know their personnel and they can run it. So I believe that they can get there again.
So you obviously cancel your tour, full capacity. So I just got to ask this, when are you going to come to Ohio and perform? You know, I'm going to need a ticket. I'm probably going to buy one, but when are you going to come to Ohio? You going to come next tour or what?
For sure. I usually hit Ohio. I usually hit Cleveland or Cincinnati when I come through. Not every tour, but most tours we stop through Ohio. I'll probably be back on tour in the spring if life allows, you know.
Yeah.
If life allows, I'll be back out there in the spring. So hopefully,
all right,
all this shit, you know.
Yeah, I'm gonna get me a general admission ticket because we aren't that close, but I'll definitely be in the stands if you've seen me sometime. So I usually end the show with this. Myself, I used to be a guy who used to be hesitant in fulfilling my dreams because I would care about how people thought of me. And you were one of those people who kind of did your own thing at 21 years old and made a life-changing decision. And look how it's panned out for you right now. So what would you say to someone who is hesitant of fulfilling their dream and being kind of like doing their own thing, even when people might not think of it as a good decision or might not think of it as a peer pressure decision or might think that – or like just people who are too hard on themselves? What can you say to kind of uplift those guys?
I think that at the end of the day, the most important thing in life is being happy. And if you have something that makes you happy, then you should go for it because at the end of the day, nothing else truly matters. If you're not happy inside and you don't love yourself and you don't love the life you've made for yourself, then none of that shit matters. So you could go get the best job in the world, but if you have the regrets that you never followed your dream or your passion, or it's almost like it's anything. If you have regrets in your life, it's not going to go well. You have to go after what you want relentlessly, and you have to put your blood, sweat, your tears into it. If not, you're going to live with regrets, and you're never going to be happy. So that's my whole thing is like I couldn't see myself not doing this. I couldn't see myself not doing this. And if you have that passion and you feel like that, then now all that it is sitting back and making a plan, planning your work and working your plan on how to get to that level in the thing that you love. So, and surround yourself with it. Because a lot of times too, when you're going for something, like you're going, you have a podcast right now and you're interviewing people, and your dream might be to be the biggest podcaster in the world. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But from doing this, you might meet somebody and you might end up in another position doing some other shit that you love because you chased your dream. If you chase your dream, everything else will fall into place. It's like athletes that end up being coaches, or athletes that end up being broadcasters, or whatever else, or personal trainers. It's because they chased their dream, and when it didn't work out, at least they can be in the thing that they love. And sometimes they end up loving that more than what their original dream was.
Thank you, Zach, so much. That was much needed for probably anyone who watches this, and I needed that too. Is kind of something to uplift you and make you want to follow your dream, because you can't take regrets with you 6 feet under whenever that time is.
No, sir. Can't.
All right. Thank you, Futuristic Zach Beck. Check out Indie Amplify. Anything last words for you, Zach?
Nah, man. Just, as my guy Mike would say, don't lose your happiness on the pursuit for more. Make sure you follow your goals, your dreams, and work hard every day. Plan your work and work your plan.
Follow Futuristic at Only Futuristic on Instagram, Twitter. Follow Indie Amplify. Check that site out, guys. That is it for episode 15 with Zachary Beck, Futuristic. Check out his music. Ton of good songs in any vibe you want. And that'll be all for today, guys. Check us out on YouTube, KrevsCorner.com, Krevs Corner on Twitter, Krevs Corner in YouTube.
Sheesh.
Swish.